How to eat on the go in a foreign city that you've never been to before while sticking to a calorie deficit. In today's video, that's exactly what I'm going to show you. If you're new here, I'm Ryan Lewin. I'm an online body and health transformation coach. I've been working in the industry for 10 years, helping people do stuff like this. And I've got a few pieces of paper with some letters on that you might be interested in. So I've got an MSc in exercise physiology and I'm a certified nutritionist. So I've done a lot of studying and I've got a lot of experience of working with people in the industry. So if you would like some content on YouTube that's going to help you with your own journey, whether that's building muscle, losing body fat, improving your health, getting fitter, whatever that may be, make sure you drop us a subscribe because over the course of this year, I'm going to be putting out various bits of content like talking head style videos, vlogs, behind the scenes of my own journey. So if you hit that subscribe button, firstly, you'll make me very happy. Secondly, you get to stay in tune with everything that I put out this year and it's all for free. So go on, drop us a subscribe. So today is day one of my pre-summer fat loss phase. So I'm going to go into a calorie deficit and I'm going to start a 11-week push with fat loss. Why am I choosing today whilst I'm in Bucharest in Romania? Well, I've just had the most amazing couple of weeks really. I went back to the UK for my birthday, spent some time with family, went to see Dave at the O2, which was a wicked gig. Big fan of Dave, and honestly, I think he's one of the most talented musicians that the UK have had, because he's got so much diversity. But anyway, that's a topic for a different day, but it was a quality gig. And then I went out to Romania for a week with two of my best friends and one of my best friend's wife, who is also now a good friend. She's Romanian, so she's been showing us around the country and exploring various places. And it's been amazing, unbelievable. Been to some of the most beautiful places that I've ever been to, and we ate a lot of fantastic food. So why have I chosen today, whilst I'm in Bucharest, in Romania, a city that I don't really know, to start my pre-summer fat loss phase? Because tonight I'm flying home back to Athens, and tomorrow I will wake up in my own bed and I'll be in my own home and in my own routine. So would it have not made more sense for me to just start then? Well, not really, because as I just said, I've just had the most amazing week with my friends. We ate out, we had home-cooked, authentic meals. We made lots of memories. We went into the mountains in Romania where there was bears and wolves. Thankfully, didn't see any, but we went on snow buggies, went up the mountain. We've just had the most amazing week of making memories. They went home yesterday and I had another 24 hours in Bucharest simply because the flight was a damn sight cheaper. Otherwise, I would have gone home yesterday. I wanted to get back into routine. I've had my fun, I've made the memories. There's no point me carrying that on just because I don't get home until tomorrow. When I mapped out my goals for the year, I kind of looked at my roadmap, and this is something that I advise everyone to do, something that I do with my clients. Just look at your year and look at, where you've got holidays, weddings, special occasions, things that you're probably going to need a little bit of more flexibility with your nutrition, and then map out phases where you're going to have a push forward with certain goals. And I just looked at my year and I was like, there's about 11 and a half weeks between this Romania trip and a festival that I've got in the UK. I don't really have anything on in that 11 and a half weeks that you would call an obstacle. So it's that's a logical place for me to do a bit of a fat loss phase. I've just spent the last 5 months really enjoying my training. So since my last photo shoot back in November, I've kind of just, I've been eating more food, more carbs, more flexibly, having a bit more, fun at the weekends and whatever. And I've just been focusing on getting really, really strong again, which has been nice. I've really enjoyed my training. But it's definitely time to have a bit of a tidy up. Maybe I've built a little bit of muscle tissue in that time. Obviously, it's not going to be huge amounts, but I definitely would have built a bit of muscle. So, just diet down and see where we're at. But obviously also want to go into summer lean, just like everyone does, right? So a lot of my clients are obviously going to be dieting for fat loss now because of summer being on the horizon. So obviously I need to walk the walk and do it myself as well. And it also allows me to make some cool content. So yeah, I was just like, look, there's no point delaying getting back into routine when really the trip is over. I'm working today in Bucharest. It's just going to be a pretty standard day. It's just I'm in a different city. So I know a lot of you will travel for work and, do various things that do require you to then just buy food on the go and make choices. And whilst you're trying to stick to a calorie deficit, sometimes that's not the easiest thing if you don't know the best places to go or you've not got the right sort of tips stored in your mindset. So that's what I'm going to do today. So basically every meal that I eat today is going to be on the go. I'm going to be in an airport, I'm going to be in supermarkets, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to take you through the day, show you what I eat, show you how I stick to under 2,000 calories, and give you my top 5 tips for eating on the go and staying on track with a calorie deficit. So stay tuned, I'll take you through my day in Bucharest. Okay, just out for a Monday morning walk in Bucharest. So it's about 7:45 in the morning and it's raining. So I probably shouldn't be too long because I don't know if this Osmo thing is waterproof. But just gone out for a walk in the city, grabbed myself a black coffee, and I'm sat on a park bench to record this video in the grounds of a pretty cool building. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to give you the first couple of tips with staying on track with a deficit whilst on the go in a place that you don't know. So the first couple of things that I'm doing today is delaying my first meal. So because I'm going to be having dinner at the airport tonight, I know that's probably going to be the part of the day where I'm going to need the most calories. So I'm essentially just eating as late as possible in the day. I'll probably have breakfast at like 12, 1 o'clock or something like that. I'm going to get a workout in before I go to the airport as well. But I'll wait as long as possible. So in the morning, I do this at home anyway when I'm in normal routine, especially in a fat loss phase. But in the morning, I'll get some steps in, get some activity done, and I'll just make sure that I'm having a bit of caffeine and hydrating really well, because both of those things are going to help you with, delaying your eating as long as possible. I always start my day with 500 millilitres to a litre of water with electrolytes kind of in the first hour of the day. And then when I'm out on a walk, that's where I'll take in my first coffee. Caffeine basically just helps with reducing appetite, and then just drinking plenty of fluids and being hydrated helps with energy levels, it helps with cognition, it helps with feeling a bit fuller when you're not eating. There's a lot of different reasons. So the mornings are for hydrating well, caffeinating well, getting a bit of movement done before I start work, and exploring a new city this morning. So yeah, we're back on track. I think one of the nicest analogies that I always use for this, like with regards to me getting back on track today and not just being like, okay, it's my last day in Bucharest, let's keep eating all the nice food, is like, I've got 3 analogies for you. So if you were to slash a tyre on your car, would you slash the other 3 before you get the next one before you get the first one fixed? Probably not. You would just go and get that first tyre repaired, right? You wouldn't make the problem worse. If you overspent on your savings by like 200 quid because you went on holiday with a friend or whatever, you wouldn't take the rest of your savings out and set fire to it. And then the last one is, if you spilt coffee on your work shirt on the way out the door, you wouldn't go and throw the rest of the cup over the whole wardrobe, right? That's kind of the same thought process I think you should always have when it comes to fat loss and like your diet and stuff. Like if you've just had, like I'm not going to say that last week was a mistake, because it absolutely wasn't. Like I said, I made some great memories with my friends, had some amazing food, but at the end of the day, if I'd been in the mindset of being like, I know I'm about to start a fat loss phase, but I'm going to kick the can down the road for one more day and just go and overeat today and have loads of calories, what's the point? Like I've done what I wanted to do here. I've eaten the food that I wanted to eat. That would just be the same as slashing more tyres on the car, because what goes on must come off. So if I was to go into a big calorie surplus today, I'm just setting myself back one step further from where I want to be by summer. So your next meal and your next opportunity and your next day is always your chance to get back on track if the situation is appropriate to do so. So that was my thought process for today. So yeah, there you go. There's your first couple of tips, and there's some mindset support for you when it comes to fat loss. So now I'm going to get off this wet park bench, because I've probably got quite a wet bum from sitting on there. I'm going to continue my steps. So I'm probably going to end up getting about 6,000 steps in on this walk. My goal for today is 12,000, and then I'm going to start work. So I've got a few hours of client calls and stuff to do before I need to check out my Airbnb. At which point, that's when I'll be getting ready for my breakfast. Or I guess it'll be lunch, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to enjoy my coffee, going to listen to a podcast, get some steps in, and I'll catch you later. All right, and just for good measure, so that this isn't all about boring fat loss nutrition, I'm actually going to run you through some of the absolutely incredible food that me and my friends have eaten in Romania over the last week. So lots of stews. As you can see in this video here, I actually took part in stirring one of the stews for a few seconds. But this was cooked by, this was a homemade stew cooked on a fire, as you can see, outside for 3 hours. Venison, really special type of mushroom was in there, and the sauce and the flavour that was with it was absolutely incredible. And that was served with, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. My mind's gone blank. A little potato thing. Anyway, I'll have to come back to you on that. But that was an incredible meal. We also had another stew. I don't know if I should say what's in this stew, because I feel like some people might judge me. But this was really good, and it was definitely a novel experience. But this stew that you can see here was a bear stew. So, you know, a brown bear. The meat that's in that is a brown bear. And it was pretty damn good, I'll be honest. But yeah, I won't talk too much more about the bears. We had some amazing potato salad. All of this is homemade because, as I said, I've been staying with my friend. I'm just going to say my friend and her family, which is wicked. We had some papanash, which is like a traditional Romanian dessert. So it's like fried donut balls covered in fresh cream and jam. They were absolutely incredible. And various other bits and bobs as we went through the week. This sweet treat that you can see here. We had a good week of eating, put it that way, as you can see. So, you know, like, whilst this looks like I'm in Romania, I'm in Bucharest and I'm eating boring food, like I say, this is because I'm getting locked in and getting back on track with what it is that I want to achieve my fitness. I've had my fun, I've scratched the itch, I've made some memories, and now it's time to go back to normal routine. But I just thought I'd show you some of that so that this isn't all about Greek yogurt and fibre. Because, unlike a lot of people in the fitness industry, it's not my whole personality. And I do have other things that I like to do alongside physique and fitness. And some of that is eating really indulgent, unhealthy food in different countries with my friends. So there we go. All right, catch you soon. Time for breakfast. So this is actually earlier than planned. It's 11 o'clock, but I've got to check out my Airbnb in a second. And the breakfast is more practical to eat here. So I'm going to eat my breakfast now. I've got the usual. So I eat this even when I'm at home as one of my breakfasts. But when you're on the go, it's just so easy to get protein and fibre and keep your calories under control. So it's a load of Greek yogurt and berries. So it's about 400 grams, because I had some yesterday. I've not got the whole tub. 400 grams of 2% Greek yogurt and about 150, 200 grams of mixed berries in there. One of the easiest options you can get when you're on the go and you're trying to keep everything under control with your nutrition. Like, pretty much every city that you're going to travel to is going to have a supermarket, and it's going to sell some form of low-fat, high-protein Greek or natural yogurt. So it's just such an easy option to have as a go-to. Really good quality protein, and like I say, it keeps your calories under control. So that is my meal one. My second, or is this a third tip? Because I said caffeine and hydration. We'll go with second tip. Is to always be one step ahead of where you're going to be eating. So if you know where you're going to be in advance, then you can have a look at menus and you can get a feel for what's available. It just allows you to be proactive and not end up in a situation where you've got 400 calories and there's just nothing on a menu or, you know, available that you can have. So for me today, I know that I'm going to be having dinner after I train at the airport. So there's probably not going to be a supermarket available. So what I've done is I've just looked at what's available at the airport, got a feel for the type of places that are available. There's some, you know, protein places. There's some restaurants that serve kind of like lean protein based dishes. So I'm just going to make sure I arrive to the airport with 1,000 calories of my 1950 calories that I've allocated for today still available, because then when I get to the airport I will be able to make a choice and make it fit with my calories. And I'll obviously run you through my thought process when I'm looking at a menu and being like, right, I want some dinner, but I don't want to go over 1,000 calories and I want to get a good amount of protein in. How do I look at a menu and make that decision? I'll go over that later. So just have an idea of where you're going to go. Because if I'd ended up at the airport tonight with 400 calories available, there probably wouldn't have been many options, right? Well, that was a productive couple of hours. I just did a client case study post for Instagram, at In Shape with Ryan on Instagram if you're not already a follower, and got back to all my client WhatsApps from the weekend. And now I'm about to go train before heading to the airport. So as you saw, about an hour and a half ago, I had my lunch, which was a supermarket bought chicken salad with breadcrumbs, a banana and some pre-cooked chicken breast, and that came in at like, I think 650 calories or something. My next tip for eating on the go whilst sticking to a calorie deficit is, as often as you can, use supermarkets rather than restaurants. Like, most places that you travel to are going to have supermarkets, right? You know, like sometimes I'll get a client check in with me and be like, I was on a work trip, so had a Mackey's or Five Guys because there was nothing else available. I'm just like, there's always a supermarket, and if you go to a supermarket, it's always going to be so much easier to buy things that are lean protein, not deep fried, easy to track, accurate calories. It just makes life so much easier. As I say, like, I'm not saying you need to do that all the time. I've literally just had a week of eating however I wanted, right? So it's like today, I could have sat in a restaurant and had a burger and chips or another traditional stew with a load of bread or something, but I wouldn't have really known how many calories in it. I would have been guessing. It just makes life harder and less accurate. So today I'd rather just go to a supermarket. Now, obviously you might not always have the chance to do that if you've got, like, I don't know, client dinners, or, you know, there's big social events on as part of the work trip that you're on. I do get that. But at least for like breakfast and lunch, like, just try and get those from supermarkets, because it's just so much easier to make choices in line with your goals. And then, like tonight, like I say, I am going to eat at a restaurant at the airport, and then I've just saved 1,000 calories basically for that meal. So breakfast with the yogurt and fruit was like 320 calories. All of that lot that I just had was 650, 620. I need to get my MyFitnessPal screenshot up and show you. But it leaves me with about 1,000 calories left now. So I'm going to go train, get my workout done, and then go straight to the airport, get my laptop out, have dinner, which will probably be like 7 o'clock or something. And that'll be me done for the day. So yeah, there you go. There's your next tip. Just look for a supermarket, make your life easier, and get things that are just in line with your goals. Pre-cooked chicken breast, salad pots, pasta pots, even like lean protein-based sandwiches, you know, like a chicken salad sandwich with a fruit pot or a yogurt pot or something and a Diet Coke as part of a meal deal. It's not the end of the world. It's better than burger and chips, right? So there we go. There's your next tip. I'm gonna go train. Catch you soon. There we go. I'm now sat on the floor at the airport, digesting my dinner and making the last video for this vlog. So as you saw, what I ended up with was 3 small Romanian micis. which I like. It's mincemeat basically. 3 cabbage rolls with a little bit of rice in. There was another bit of rice that they gave me with the meat, and then some pickled vegetables and a Diet Coke. Job done. Process of elimination, really, to be honest. Like, if I look at the options available, like I'm sat in the food court now, there's a noodle place that only had deep fried protein, so like crispy chicken, deep fried beef, loads of oil, loads of sauce, so likely to be quite high in calories, and also didn't look that great. There's a burger and chips place, again, not really going to be getting much food from there for the calories that I want to try and stick to. And then there's like a pastry place that does pastries and pasta, but again, all quite calorie dense and didn't look too great. So I was like, right, I'll finish it with a nice Eastern European dish. I've got 1,000 calories to play with. So what I did was I looked at their menu and then just process of elimination again from what they had available, because they did have some like high like cream and butter based sauces with some of their dishes. There was some like schnitzel type stuff, which again is deep fried. So I just had a look, what protein have they got that isn't deep fried? Yeah, okay, I could have probably gone for some chicken, but I just fancied some of those meaty things because they are really good. So some meaty to get some protein and fat in, had some rice, some vegetable wraps, and then the pickled veg. The way that I then track that is just bang it into ChatGPT, and what I did was on the menu they've got a breakdown of the ingredients, and then they've got rough weights on the serving sizes, so that was quite lucky actually. That makes it relatively easy. So I put a breakdown into ChatGPT. I'll put some pop-ups coming up on the screen here. I just said, like, these are the ingredients in the things that I had, these are the rough serving sizes, can you give me a logical calorie estimate? And then it breaks it down for you, gives you a relatively good ballpark. I estimated it'd be about 1,000 calories, and ChatGPT said like 900 to 1,100. So that puts me in the right sort of ballpark. So what I'll do in my fitness pal is just quick add that as 1,000 calories, and then job done. For the day, that actually does bring me to about 2,200 calories, so slightly over the initial target that I set. But I've hit my protein and I've been really active today. I mean, I'll have to check my step count, but I'm pretty sure I've done like 15k steps, and I've trained and I did a little bit of cardio. But on a day when you're traveling, to be honest, if you're getting within sort of 10% of your calorie target and you hit your protein, it's not the end of the world. Like, because I know tomorrow when I'm at home and I've got my own kitchen and I've got the supermarket and all that sort of stuff, I'm not going to be eating in an airport for dinner, you know. So tomorrow I can just pull my calories down by 100 for the next 2 or 3 days, and that will level it out. So all good. I'm happy with that as a day of eating on the go for day one of a fat loss phase for sure. So there you go. Hopefully that was useful. I can't remember the 5 tips off the top of my head. Delay eating as long as possible and make sure you hydrate and caffeinate well in the morning, ideally with a bit of movement, and then just keep yourself busy with working or exploring. Tip number 2 was to plan ahead in advance and always be, you know, one step ahead. Look at food menus, have an idea of what you're going to be eating for dinner, pre-track a rough amount, and then reverse engineer the rest of the day around it. Tip number 3 was make your first meal protein and fibre. I can't remember, to be honest. Yeah, I can't remember. Let me check. I've got it written on my phone. So no, the next tip wasn't make your first meal protein and fibre, but that should have been a tip because that's what I did. And that just helps push more of your calories and macros to later in the day. The next tip was try and go to supermarkets as often as you can, because whenever you eat in restaurants, it's always going to be higher calorie. It's going to be more unreliable with the ingredients they've got in it. There's going to be hidden oils, all that sort of stuff. So if you can, aim for supermarkets, at least for your breakfast and lunch, and then save more calories for your evening meal. When you're setting your targets, go for a calorie range and a protein range, and as long as you're somewhere between that range, you're good. Like, so today I probably would have said between 1,900 and 2,200 is absolutely golden. And then the last tip, I guess, is process of elimination. I actually wrote a book for my clients on this, all about eating out and eating on the go and making good choices. And there's a page in it where I basically have like words that you can look at on a menu that will just let you know whether it's a leaner choice or a fattier choice with higher calories. So if you see the words like glazed, sticky, crispy, that sort of thing, you know it's going to be high in sugar, high in fat, it's going to be deep fried, it's going to have like sugary sauces with it. Whereas if you see like grilled, steamed, poached, those sort of things, you can start to see that they're going to be healthier cooking methods and likely lower calories. So you can do process of elimination like that. And then when you're actually in a place like an airport, you're just like thinking like, right, is there anything that I can get that's protein based, it's not deep fried, it's got some vegetables with it. You know, you just start to reverse engineer from there and see what you end up with. But I'll put a link below in the comments to the Eating Out book that I wrote for clients. And if you want to download a copy, just pop your email address in and you can download one, because it is a useful resource. I think the last tip, just to kind of, you know, just to finish on a bit of a blunt takeaway point, like at the end of the day, you've got to remember in situations like this, like if you go on business trips, you know, working away, whatever it may be, and you do want to stay on track with your fat loss goals, you've just got to think like, no one's got a gun to your head. No one's got a gun to your head saying you've got to eat big portions. No one's got a gun to your head saying you need to go for 10 pints and, you know, all the high calorie foods and stuff. Like, just because you are eating on the go, like I've showed you today, if your head's in the right place and you really push yourself to make the right decisions, like, it is doable. As I say, you've got to choose your moments wisely to kind of hit the effort button and just not really care too much. And I think for me, I'd always rather do that when I'm with my friends, making memories, just like I did last week. You know, I didn't hit the effort button, but I definitely didn't care about my calorie intake. I was present with my friends and had a great time. And then today, like I say, back to work, not with my friends. The holiday's kind of done. Yes, I'm still in Romania. Yes, I'm making a YouTube video. But today it's just like, right, okay, if I want to make the right choices and I want to stick to a calorie deficit today and feel, you know, good going back on the plane, not feel bloated, not feel heavy, I can make those choices. And I did, and I feel good for it. So just think, no one's got a gun to your head, and there are always good options available in most situations. And if you do need help with staying more on top of your nutrition when it comes to business trips or anything like that, getting in shape and, you know, work events, social events, all that sort of stuff tripping you up, and you need a bit of support with flexible dieting, as I say, you can start off with that book in the comments. But if you want to talk to me about coaching, then you know where I am. At In Shape with Ryan on Instagram, or ryan@inshapenutrition.co.uk on email, and I'll gladly let you know how the online coaching works. But if you're not ready for that yet, just make sure you subscribe, stay in tune with all the content that I'm going to be putting out this year. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I'm now going to stop this video and I'm going to go sit and edit it and get it ready to go on YouTube. So you're going to see it by the time you watch this part, so that'll already be done. So yeah, time for another Diet Coke and a big editing session. So thank you for watching. I hope you found it useful. I hope there were some tips in this, and I'll catch you next time.